Hello everyone, Happy New Year. My first video of the year, I thought I would talk about an interesting gaming experience I had over the New Year's weekend. Started playing a game that I was curious about, thought I might like, ended up hating the little bit that I played of it, moved on to a game I was a little skeptical about, but my wife suggested I might like it, ended up loving it so much I beat it in 2 sittings. So this will be an interesting one to talk about. First off, a game that we've been meaning to get, and I kind of have a little bit of history with the series, but I thought I might like this one. Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. I know, a super popular game and franchise, but I maybe played an hour of it, and I pretty much hated every second. It just wasn't that it was a bad game, it just wasn't for me at all. But let me explain why I actually wanted to give it a shot. I have really bad memories with the original Smash Bros. On N64. Absolutely hated that game, and I had a friend who always wanted to play that. You know, a group of friends that for a while, like a year or two, always wanted to play that or GoldenEye on the N64, and I absolutely detested both of those games. So I had real negative first impressions of the series. It just wasn't for me at all. And the same thing with the one on the GameCube. It just wasn't that it was bad, it just was not for me in the least. I love fighting games, and I've always, every time we pick up a fighting game, I'm usually the best in the room. You know, growing up with all my friends, and even into adulthood, put in King of Fighters or Tekken or just any fighting game in general, Soul Calibur, and I'm usually one of the best, if not the best, especially with Tekken. And I really like fighting games, and I like brawlers and the kind of party vibe that Smash has. I like the idea of it, but something about it just doesn't click with me at all. You know, I'll play something like Tekken and just destroy everyone, and then I'll play Smash Brothers, and half the time I'm not even facing the right direction. Like, I just find it completely unintuitive for me. And just everyone just has, I guess, natural instincts and how they want a game to function and play, and that's why there's, it's good that there's so much variety in types of games, even within a genre, because everyone's gonna click with different styles. And for me, Smash just does not click at all. I find them unplayable. This one, though, I was a little curious about. I wanted to check it out, and my wife's probably gonna play it. I think she might like it, but I was curious because the huge roster of characters, and the fact this one kind of has an adventure mode that differentiates it a little bit from the experience I had with the older ones. And there's characters like Shulk and just people that I want to check out. It's like, alright, maybe this one will be different. And I decided to give it a shot, and I couldn't get into it at all. You know, I tried, and I liked the idea, the premise of it, and it just wasn't for me in the least. Then an indie game that my wife got a while ago. She picked up the limited edition and hadn't checked out yet. She got it because it was brand new, like super cheap, and it looked interesting, and one of those kind of on the backlog for a while. Blacksad, which is based off a comic series that I had never even heard of, and this was by a developer from Spain who looked it up, has apparently been making PC games since the mid-90s, starting with some kind of 90s era point-and-click adventure type things, which is a very similar style. Blacksad, it takes place in a fictitious early 1950s setting where all the people are different animals, and that was one aspect that I think definitely is one of the things that made my wife interested, and for me I was like, I don't know, one of the reasons why I hadn't checked it out yet, and ended up being something that actually really worked for the game, giving it a very different style, being a very 40s feeling in the direction of it, noir murder mystery. And the presentation of that style was spot on. The very jazzy soundtrack was spot on. It really felt like a lot of those films from that era that I love, getting a lot of those, like Warner Brothers film noir movie packs and things like that. I really like that. So this was right up my alley, and it's the kind of game that I enjoyed so much, where it relies more on careful contemplation rather than fast action, even though there are moments where the action picks up and you have to do some kind of quick time events and things. Those are not the bulk of the gameplay. The bulk of the gameplay is making dialogue choices and using a system to, once you collect clues, then you go into the main character's mind and you contemplate those clues and try to connect them to make new realizations. And it's a very, you know, thought-provoking murder mystery type story. I thought it was well crafted. The characters are great. The writing was great. It was a lot of fun. It was right up my alley. Exactly the kind of game that I love. The only thing that I would say would be the negative would be performance-wise. It was fairly glitchy. Not throughout the entire game, but here and there, and I didn't encounter anything like game-breaking or crashes or anything, but you know, there's nothing that took me out of the game. It was just something that was noticeable. Some clipping and some kind of jerky lagging every once in a while, but again, it was not something that was a dominant presence throughout the game, just something that I was aware of, but you know, it didn't hurt it at all, and just the atmosphere and the storytelling was fantastic. You know, the voice acting was mixed. I wouldn't call it negative. There were some that were really great, some that were just okay. You know, there wasn't any, again, in particular that I don't think anyone did a bad job. You know, I did the English voice acting. I think there's English, Spanish, and French. I'm not sure there's more language options, but those were the ones that I saw in the menu. And, you know, there weren't any that were bad. There were just some that were better than others. It was decent, though, and didn't distract from the storytelling at any point. So this was a big surprise. I really loved this game. It was fantastic, and I enjoyed not just the playable noir mystery, which was fantastic, being the detective and just being in that setting and that feeling and that vibe, but I was looking for a game that was on the shorter side, and it was around 8 or 9 hours, I believe, roughly. I wasn't tracking exactly to play through. So on the shorter side, which is great with this kind of wall of RPGs coming out this year, I'm mostly going to be playing longer games, but you know, both of us try to, you know, we do our top 10 games of the year every year. This was exactly the type of game I wanted to get some shorter games in at the beginning of the year before, you know, I don't want to get to the end of the year and I just played 5, you know, 70-hour-long RPGs that took me the whole year to play. So this was just the perfect experience that I was looking for, and really, you know, after I was genuinely kind of annoyed with how much I really disliked Smash Brothers, because I wanted to like it, and then this was a nice surprise where I was curious, but ended up absolutely loving it. And it'll be interesting to see, you know, how it holds up against these RPG behemoths and where it ends up at the end of 2024. But it is good enough that even playing, you know, lots of great games throughout the year, and this being just kind of right off the bat in January, is such a good game, so strong. I feel like it's probably going to be revisited. I'll talk about it again more than likely in the next, you know, 12 months, because it was fantastic and one I think you should check out. I have no idea how much it, you know, costs these days. This is a limited edition with particular cover and like art and all kinds of art cards and stuff, so it's really cool. But if you like the sound of it, I think you should check it out. I think if you like that kind of, you know, choice-based mystery games, detective-style games, 90s era kind of point-and-click stuff, you know, this reminded me of, without the sci-fi elements, of course, the Blade Runner PC game. Since I just replayed that last year, the Enhanced Edition, it reminded me a lot stylistically of that, obviously without, you know, the sci-fi elements, but it really recaptured that noir feel, and I thought it was fantastic. And again, the whole animal, you know, anthropomorphized cats and dogs and gorillas and whatever, it wasn't a distraction. It actually felt creative and didn't detract from the storytelling at all. It actually just kind of made it stand out and be something that felt a little more unique, something a little more memorable. So definitely one to check out. You know, maybe if you, I know a game that was popular was LA Noire. If you like that type of game, this is, you know, plays very differently, but as far as the general kind of vibe, if you like that game, you'd probably like this. So check out Blacksad. And you know, Smash Brothers is just, it's one of those, you know, big popular franchises that just, I don't know, just doesn't work, doesn't appeal to me. You know, not saying that it's bad, it's just not for me. And that's one thing that I feel like in the internet discourse, people always kind of forget that something's always either amazing or terrible, and that's not always true. Sometimes something can be great and you're just not the audience for it.